People don't pay you because of your credentials. They pay you because of how they feel when they're with you. That might sound strange at first, but it's something most people never get taught. In school, we're trained to wait for permission. We're told to collect degrees, certificates, and approval before we speak up or charge for our work. But many of the most impactful people in the world didn't wait for permission. They didn't have perfect qualifications. They spoke from lived experience. And people listened because they felt something real. Psychologist Carl Jung talked about archetypes, deep patterns that live inside all of us. You don't earn these through school. You grow into them by living, struggling, healing, and becoming yourself. That's what gives someone authority. In this video, I want to show you how to step into that inner authority. How people can value and even pay for your truth, even if you don't have letters after your name. Your story matters more than any piece of paper. Here's an important truth. People don't pay for information anymore. There's too much of it everywhere. What people pay for now is transformation. They pay to feel understood. They pay to feel seen. They pay for emotional shifts, not facts. Transformation doesn't require credentials. It requires honesty, clarity, and real connection. You could be young and have worked through anxiety. Someone older and more successful on paper might still pay you to help them because you've lived it. Real value comes from experience, not age, titles, or status. But many people hide their truth. They think, who am I to charge for this? That's fear talking. That's self-doubt. Jung would say this comes from the shadow, the part of us that doesn't believe we're worthy yet. And here's the thing. People feel your energy before they hear your words. If you feel ashamed to charge, others will feel it. If you're waiting for permission, they'll sense that too. But when you fully stand behind your story, people trust you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. So if you're wondering, how do I become an authority without pretending? That question means you're ready for a shift. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone without an impressive title, but their presence made you listen? Something about their honesty pulled you in. That's embodied truth. And that's what people are drawn to. Your story is your certification. Every struggle, breakdown, healing moment, and lesson matters. Jung called this the process of becoming who you truly are. When you walk that path consciously, it helps others do the same. The problem is, most people see their past as a weakness. They hide it. But what builds trust today isn't perfection, it's presence. Imagine two people offering the same service. One says, I have a certificate and hours of training. The other says, I've lived through this. I've healed. I know this path. The first might impress you. The second makes you feel safe. We don't want robots. We want real humans who understand us. Your pain isn't something to hide. It's what gives you depth. Your struggles aren't flaws. They're what make you relatable. Your story isn't extra. It's the reason people connect with you. The real question is, are you owning your story or editing yourself to look professional? Before moving on, ask yourself this quietly. If I treated my story as something sacred, how would I show up differently? The answer is already inside you. They are the people who have stopped hiding who they really are. Somewhere along the way, they accepted their truth instead of arguing with it. Carl Jung called them living archetypes. Not people playing a role, not people performing a brand, but people who have fully stepped into their natural energy. You can feel them the moment they walk into a room. They don't try to convince you of anything. They don't explain why they're credible. Their presence does the work for them. They don't look like authority, they are authority. And what's interesting is that people don't usually know why they trust them. They just do. Something inside says, this feels right. That's because the unconscious mind responds to energy, not resumes. It recognizes familiarity, emotion, and truth long before logic gets involved. That's why someone will say, I don't know what it is, but I feel drawn to you. It's not random. It's resonance. And resonance is what money follows. Most people, though, have learned to mute that part of themselves. Life trained them to doubt what came naturally. The healer who was always the one others leaned on learned to dismiss their gift because they didn't have formal training. The rebel who questioned everything learned to soften their edges to be accepted. The one who brought calm, insight, or clarity into every space learned to tell themselves it wasn't real work. So they kept asking, "Who am I to charge for this?" Jung would say that's the unintegrated self. The part that knows its power but doesn't trust it yet. It's the tension between who you are and who you were told to be. And that tension leaks into everything. People can feel it. No amount of confidence scripts or marketing strategies can hide it. But something changes the moment you stop apologizing for your nature. When you stop editing yourself to be palatable. When you let yourself be fully seen. You don't need to sell as hard anymore. You don't need to perform. You become magnetic, because people are exhausted by polish and starving for honesty. What they want is someone real. Someone present. Someone whole. Every kind of person creates value, even though we were taught otherwise. Money doesn't belong to one personality type. It doesn't only flow to the loudest voice or the most strategic mind. It follows impact. And impact shows up in many forms. There are people whose presence alone makes others feel safe. Sitting with them feels like exhaling. They help others come back to themselves without fixing or forcing anything. There are people who can't stop seeing what's broken and feel compelled to challenge it. They name the truth everyone else avoids and build something new in its place. There are people who can take chaos and turn it into clarity, who speak in a way that cuts through noise and makes life make sense again. There are people who lead with deep compassion, who can hold grief, love, and vulnerability without flinching. There are people who create beauty that stirs something forgotten, and people who move easily between the visible and invisible, translating mystery into meaning. All of them are valuable. All of them can be paid. Not because they learned how to be someone else, but because they finally stopped abandoning who they already were. You don't need to reinvent yourself to be worthy. You don't need to adopt a personality that doesn't fit. You don't need to wait until someone else says it's okay. The path opens when you stop disowning your design. When you live it fully, others recognize it instantly. Not as expertise, not as a brand, but as something familiar. A mirror. A reminder. And this isn't only about income. It's bigger than that. When you live your truth instead of suppressing it, you quietly give others permission to do the same. Jung warned that the greatest danger is an unlived life. A life where gifts are buried, instincts are ignored, and souls go numb. But when someone chooses to live their archetype openly and honestly, they become an invitation. A signal. Proof that it's safe to be real. And that's how healing spreads. Not through perfection, but through presence. You reflect what's possible for others. You don't change people by giving them more information. You change them by how you show up, by the energy you carry. That's how real change happens. Not by climbing ladders or collecting awards, but by standing in your truth and saying, "This is who I am. This is what I've lived. And I offer it with care." When you do that, people will pay you not because you pushed or convinced them, but because something real woke up inside them. There's one big inner block that stops many people from living this way, and it has to do with money. A lot of us were taught that getting paid for our gifts is selfish. That helping others should mean sacrifice. That receiving money is less spiritual than giving. These beliefs leave kind, heart-centered people tired, struggling, and quietly resentful. If deep down you feel guilty asking for money, or uncomfortable saying your prices, people will sense it. Even if you don't say a word, your body and your energy communicate it. As Jung said, the unconscious is always speaking. When shame around money isn't healed, it shows up in your voice, your posture, your boundaries, and how you receive. Others pick up on that and either doubt you or walk away. Many of us grew up hearing messages like, "Do good, but don't profit from it. Be humble, not wealthy. Money is for business people, not people like you." If it's spiritual, it should be free. But these aren't universal truths. They're learned stories passed down by systems that benefit when caring, intuitive people stay small. Now imagine a different way of seeing it. When someone pays you, it's not just a transaction. It's a commitment to their own growth. They're choosing to invest in themselves. You're not taking from them, you're walking with them. And when you receive money with honesty, you're keeping energy moving. You're allowing yourself to be supported so you can keep giving in a healthy way. Think about what happens when you're struggling to survive but still expected to help others. You get drained. You lose joy. You start to resent the very gift you once loved. That helps no one. But when your needs are met, when your work is valued, you show up with more presence, more creativity, and more care. You give from fullness, not pressure. That's how real change spreads. Not through burnout, but through balance. Not by chasing money, but by letting money support your purpose. So ask yourself gently, what old belief about money am I ready to release? And what new truth am I willing to accept? Here's a new way to see it: getting paid for your gifts isn't selfish. It's meaningful. Earning from work that comes from your heart isn't wrong. It's natural. Your worth doesn't need to be proven or negotiated. It already exists. You don't need to hustle or beg. You just need to stop apologizing for who you are. If this message touched you, pass it on to someone who's still waiting for permission. You can even say this to yourself today: I'm ready to be paid for being fully myself. Or choose words that feel real in your body, words your future self will be grateful you claimed. And if you want to keep exploring this kind of deep, honest conversation about worth and purpose, this space is here for that. The world doesn't need more perfect professionals. It needs more people who remember who they are and allow themselves to be supported for it. You're allowed to be seen. You're allowed to receive. And you're allowed to be paid. Now go be yourself. The world is ready for you.